Hi, thanks for clicking on this video and thanks for joining me today. I am Alex and I am the Wandering Englishman. And no, I'm not the Wandering Englishman because I'm going for a wander. I'm the Wandering Englishman because I'm fascinated by the wonders of the world and the wonders that are all around us. So join me on this walk. Today I'm going to head from Hammersmith Bridge, which is this bridge that you see me on at the moment, all along the south riverbank of the Thames up to Putney Bridge. Now, Hammersmith Bridge has a very interesting history. The current bridge that you see, which is currently out of action, and according to our illustrious Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, he doesn't get that nickname for nothing. The bridge is apparently indefinitely out of service, meaning it's closed to all motor traffic, and it has been since April 2019. It's amazing that the Chinese can build hospitals in days and the British in the 21st century, since we left the Industrial Revolution, can't seem to fix a bridge. But who am I to comment on this? But it is apparent that there are workmen working on this bridge, and it wouldn't be the first time that workmen have worked on this bridge. The original bridge was actually built in 1827. That was a suspension bridge. However, I think the story goes by the 1870s, which is a decade and a half or so after the original boat race, which happens to go under this bridge. The owners of the bridge realised that the 11,000 to 12,000 people that used to crowd onto the bridge looking for an opportunity to see the boat race was looking a little ominous. So I think around 1884 a temporary bridge was put up to allow limited traffic over, while a replacement was built, and then the replacement that was built is this bridge that you see today, and it was opened in 1887. So yes, it is an old bridge, but in the grand scheme of things, it isn't actually that old. However, that is no compensation for the fact that this bridge has not been functioning properly since April 2019. And despite the fact that there are workmen on this bridge, there's no sign of when it will reopen. Sadiq, when are you going to be opening this bridge? Much to the frustration of the residents that live around here. If you're simply walking across the bridge, great. If you're cycling, you have to get off your bike. But if you want to drive, you got to go the long way around. You got to either go over Putney Bridge, or you've got to go down towards Chiswick Bridge, which is a bit of a trek. So as you can imagine, because of this bridge closure, there has been a build-up of traffic, at least prior to the lockdown. And this is where you find me. The Hammersmith Bridge has actually had an extremely turbulent history and forever linked to the pesky, atrocious IRA. As someone that was born into a Catholic family who has Irish heritage, I will state for the record that I am not aligned in any way to the IRA. I think they're an awful bunch of people. And they caused London a huge amount of grief back in the day. And sadly, there are still small cells scurrying around as we speak, causing the UK problems. One of the fascinating things is they clearly didn't like the Hammersmith Bridge because they attempted to bomb the Hammersmith Bridge 3 times. Their first attempt to destroy the Hammersmith Bridge was in 1939. Apparently one morning at around 1 a.m, a humble hairdresser was walking across the bridge when they noticed a suitcase with smoke on the walkway. He apparently opened it, saw a bomb, and being the fine, brave individual that he was, his name was Maurice Charles, by the way, he threw the bag into the river. Apparently the resulting explosion sent up a 60-foot column of water, and then moments later a second device exploded on the other walkway, basically causing some damage to girders on the west side, and also apparently causing a significant damage to some nearby windows in the neighbouring houses. This brave hairdresser was awarded an MBE for his quick thinking, and the 2 IRA bombers were jailed for 10 to 20 years respectively. The second attack came more recently. It came in 1996. The IRA installed 2 large Semtex devices on the south bank of the Thames, the devices were activated. At the time, it was considered the largest Semtex bomb ever found, but thankfully their incompetence meant that it failed to ignite. But they didn't give up there, because on June 1st, 2000, they clearly were thinking London has too many bridges by now, because obviously in the year 2000, the Millennium Bridge opposite St Paul's was built. The real RA put a bomb under the south side of the bridge, and apparently it was damaged for a couple of years until repairs could take place. So the reality is this bridge has had its problems. It's had some serious problems. Either too many people watching the boat race, or due to the advent of the automobile, the bridge needing to be stronger. But those pesky IRA people, I think, were probably the worst of its luck. It's still there today, and hopefully, if Sadiq Khan pulls his finger out, the bridge will be back to its usual functioning self soon. That is the hope anyway. So on a more somber note, just to give you some perspective on when I film this and when I'm recording this, we are about 7.5 weeks into the lockdown, which was caused by the Wuhan virus, also known as CCP virus, also known as the Chi-Coms virus. However you'd like to call it, this lockdown has been caused by a virus that originated from China, and we are all paying for that right now. What is strange though, in the first couple of weeks of the lockdown, on a typical walk, I wouldn't see many people. Now things have changed dramatically. The last 2 or 3 weeks, people have become very casual about the lockdown. A pathway along the Thames is now fairly busy, and the streets of London, which for a couple of weeks were empty of traffic, and if you recall from one of my videos before the lockdown, which warned of the impending crisis, I did state that the streets were going to get very quiet very soon, and things would change. I was actually told in the comments that what I was predicting was going to be completely wrong, and that would never happen. Hopefully those people who made those comments can take that commentary back now, since the world has changed since this virus outbreak. I don't generally walk this fast. There will be moments in this video that are being played in double speed, simply because while the visuals are nice, I don't think it's necessary to play it in normal speed. However, if you want to put it into normal speed and hear my voice going extremely slowly, YouTube allows you to do that, but I don't recommend it. So as I previously stated, I'm walking along the south side of the River Thames. The Thames River, which is the artery of London, and has been for thousands of years, as far back even before London became Londinium, which is the name the Romans gave it. The Thames has been a crucial lifeline to all of London, often transporting goods, rubbish, people down the Thames. And to be fair, in the 21st century London, walking along the Thames is one of the nicer things to do. Almost every point in the Thames is walkable. There's the odd part of the Thames where you have to come in 1 street or 2 streets just to get round a couple of buildings. But on the whole, you can walk pretty much all the way from the Thames estuary, if you were so inclined, all the way to Hammersmith Bridge, Barnes Bridge a little bit further down, Chiswick Bridge, which is the end of the Cambridge-Oxford boat race, and further. The Cambridge-Oxford boat race does cover this segment of the Thames. It actually starts at Putney Bridge, which is where I'm going to be walking today and ending this video. So this entire segment of the Thames is the first third of the race, I would say, because by the time you get to the Hammersmith Bridge, which is where we started this video, that's around about a third, maybe slightly more than a third of the race. So normally, whoever's got the advantage at the just after the Hammersmith Bridge, normally goes on to win the race. Obviously, that hasn't always been the case, but it normally is the case. And yes, because I'm originally from Cambridge, I do cheer for the Cambridge team, of course. But the reality is it's just a damn fine day out, and it's a good day to socialise, especially on a sunny day if you get the chance to experience the boat race. Another point of interest along this part of the Thames is the Fulham Football Club, which is actually on the north side of the river, between Hammersmith Bridge and Putney Bridge. That is the football club that is owned by Mohammed Al Fayed. He is the man that was the father to Dodi Al-Fayed, the person that Princess Diana, was dating in her final days before she was tragically killed in the Parisian tunnel. I have to admit, it's a football club I've never visited, which is strange given the fact that I know Fulham fairly well. I used to be a part owner in a pub in Fulham, closer to the Chelsea Football Club, which is a club I've frequented a few times. Anyone that knows me will know that I'm not fanatical about football. I generally tend to go to the games because a friend has invited me, or I've been invited due to corporate hospitality. I personally believe, and controversially, that football is a distraction for the masses. Now, while it is enjoyable, and it is enjoyable to watch, as you'll see from this channel, I've made a fair number of videos about football. There was one where I visited the Tottenham Stadium, there was one where I visited the Arsenal Stadium. All available on the channel. There's a little icon just there if you fancy watching one of those. Just like the Romans had the Colosseum to distract the masses from what was really going on and from what the problems of the city were and the empire were, football is the globalist way of distracting the masses from the problems that we all face. Now, it is a nice escape, but at the same time, could you imagine if the amount of money that was spent on football was spent on other things? For example, channeling that effort and that energy into possibly going to the moon or going to Mars or getting us off this planet before an asteroid hits us. In my opinion, that would be far more valuable. Trying to get myself down to the Fulham Football Club hasn't been a priority, although I must do it one day. Possibly once the lockdown has ended and life is back to normal, maybe I'll try my best to venture to that football club, because it looks like they're rebuilding the stadium at the moment, which probably means it will be even more expensive to frequent a game there. So obviously, just like you guys, during the lockdown I haven't been able to travel. I know some of my fellow travellers have been in lucky or slightly unlucky situations where some have been stuck in paradise and some have been stuck in quite awful places. Each, I'm sure, will be a magnificent story once all this is over, and one to be shared by all. But yeah, during the lockdown I've had about 5 or 6 cancelled. I mostly book with budget airlines such as Ryanair, EasyJet, Wizz Air. And all of them, apart from Ryanair, have been very, very good when it comes to issuing refunds. I booked flights for my folks, actually. They were supposed to be flying to Prague. It was a Christmas gift I'd given them, and they were due to fly end of March, which was effectively when the lockdown was beginning in the UK. Ryanair have yet to issue a refund on the outbound journey, although strangely they have issued the refund on the journey back. I have no idea why. I'd love an answer from Ryanair. I think it's clear as day Ryanair are clearly very short of cash. The way that Virgin is literally about to go into administration, despite the fact that Richard Branson is a multi-billionaire, Virgin haven't paid any of their staff for weeks. Virgin have been screaming at the governments of the world asking for refunds. Virgin Blue, I think, is the one that's based out in Australia, which used to be a great airline to fly between Perth and Sydney, by the way. A journey I took when I was down there. But they've now been bought out by the Chinese. The Chinese really have taken advantage of this situation. They've been snapping up companies left, right and centre. Companies in Australia, companies in America, companies in all over Europe. You would think a country that's supposedly suffering from the effects of a virus wouldn't be so active when it comes to mergers and acquisitions. However, the fact that they have been almost tells me this has been part of the plan in the first place. The virus has been very convenient for the Chinese. In my mind, the Chinese have got a lot to answer for. The mainstream media are pushing the narrative, because they have many Chinese investors, that the virus came from the wet market in Wuhan. Well, the odds of a virus spawning just a few miles down the road from a level 4 virus facility, in my mind, are astronomically so far-fetched, it's unbelievable. Look at the size of China. China is an immense country. And when I say immense, a massive, massive country. There are wet markets all over China. The odds of that wet market being the epicenter to a bat-borne virus, despite the fact that if you look into this, bats were not sold in this market, and the nearest bats to be found in the province are over 100 miles away, and yet we're to believe that the Wuhan virus facility, which did shut down, by the way, there was a biohazard problem sometime in early October been reported. Chinese doctors working at the biohazard lab have mysteriously disappeared. Some have ended up dead, and they have been found and ended up dead. China refuses to allow foreign governments to investigate this, and yet we are supposed to believe the World Health Organization, which is pretty much in bed with the Chinese Communist Party, that the virus is a naturally occurring virus, despite the fact that if you look into the details of the virus, it's been spliced with who knows how many types of virus. I mean, there's even an academic paper that reports that the virus had similar properties to HIV, and the fact that it weakens the immune system. I'm no virus expert. Anyone will shout in the comments, I'm not a virologist, I'm not a doctor, but follow the money. Follow the money that was sent from the US, and sadly some money was sent from the US to the Wuhan virus facility. This is a facility that wasn't looking for cures when it comes to viruses, but was a facility attempting to weaponize some of the worst viruses on the planet. And this facility either had a leak or a serious accident in early October, and then we first saw the impacts of the virus in November. The world was alerted to the problem in December. The Chinese government were effectively trying to hide this problem. And then the World Health Organization came out in January, despite knowing that this virus was contagious and could be passed from person to person, came out with a tweet saying this virus isn't contagious from person to person. And yet YouTube and Google refer only to the World Health Organization when it comes to facts about this virus. If you speak about the fact that the virus is weaponized, immediately your content is demonetized. Some people's content is deleted. So if you are listening to this and you are enjoying my ramblings, this video is going to clearly earn me no money. Most of my videos are demonetized. So please do support me via Pledsto, Subscribestar, or Ko-fi, where you can buy me a coffee. And also give this video a like, leave a comment. Even if you massively disagree with me, leave a comment, click subscribe, and if you're feeling super generous, share it with at least one friend. So as we walk along this part of the river, we're walking past the various London canoe clubs. Such clubs include the Imperial College Boat Club, that's linked to Imperial College University, the Thames Rowing Club, and even some of the schools have their own rowing clubs around here. So if you attend one of the local schools, you have the privilege of rowing down this section of the Thames when your teachers allow you, I guess, and possibly after school. Obviously, this section really has been historically associated with the start of the Cambridge and Oxford boat race, and does get extremely crowded during that one day of the year when both teams battle it out. And it has to be said, it does feel very English down this section of the Thames. In my opinion, one of the last enclaves for the English population in London seems to be southwest London. If you head to places like Knightsbridge or Mayfair or central London or pretty much most of the East End, it will be a rare sight to be surrounded by anyone that's English. But southwest London still feels very English, and I have to admit that's possibly one of the reasons I've recently grown fond of this area. During lockdown, I've been staying in southwest London, not too far from here, basically between Wandsworth and Clapham. That's generally where I've called home for the last few months, and it's been fantastic, given the fact that I consider myself a Londoner. It's been fantastic sort of discovering a new part of London. because most of my London life I've spent in the very gritty, very urban area that is Shoreditch. Trying to find a green space in there that doesn't include Hoxton Square or Shoreditch Park, you're out of choices. The only green, fresh air that you might get in Shoreditch will be one of the many roof terraces that dot the area. But in southwest London, it's a completely different world. We have these green, leafy streets, we have beautiful houses, normally with lines of trees on each road. It's a part of London that is incredibly expensive to live, but it also feels enough out of the centre to almost give you that sort of village feel that London does so well. And what do I mean by London being a series of villages? Well, the reality is London is made up of lots and lots of boroughs, and each borough you could split into one or two villages depending on which borough you're talking about. For example, you have Hampstead Village, you'd have Camden Village, you almost consider Mayfair to be a village despite its urban feel. And in a way, that's one of the exciting things about London, the fact that you can go a couple of tube stops and explore the area, and it will feel very different to another part of London. Almost every part of London has a village-like atmosphere. I'd like to think that almost every part of London still has a village-type atmosphere, but the sad thing is, with globalization and the mass expansion of London and the mass overcrowding of London, London is quickly losing that identity. I mean, you only have to go to numerous East End boroughs and you question what identity it has. It just seems like an international airport and a mess sometimes. And I give that insight as someone that has lived in the East End for over 3 decades. As we fast approach Putney Bridge, which is off there in the distance, I will wrap this video up. I do appreciate the fact that you have been listening until the end. Listening, maybe even watching, I don't know. If you like this content, and you'd like to see me doing more of this sort of content, let me know in the comments below, because usually, as you know if you're a subscriber to this channel, most of my content is travel focused and travel focused outside England. But obviously during the lockdown and during this time, the fact that we can't travel, I have to experiment a little bit. Well, that was the walk from Hammersmith Bridge to Putney Bridge, and what a fine walk that is. It's on the south side of the bridge. I have to admit, I very much like that. It's going at a very slow pace, just taking it all in. But as it's getting a little bit noisy now, I'm going to turn the camera off until next time. So hopefully see you in the next video. Cheers.